I'm Maddie Borman. I'm a fifth year at the University of Colorado in Boulder.
I'm Destiny Collins. I'm also a fifth year at Baylor University. Got my undergrad at Texas. I'm from Temecula, California.
I'm Stephen Jones. I'm a fifth year at the University of Colorado as well. I just transferred in here from Mississippi State, and I'm originally from Ohio.
So we are Black distance runners in a community that is dominated by white distance runners. So obviously it's kind of uncomfortable going to a meet or a race or just being within the team and not seeing people that look like you.
I think a big part of us growing up through like junior high, high school, whenever everybody got into running, a lot of my friends, and not just, it's predominantly, like we said, it's a white sport for the most part. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of role models to look up to and a lot of people they idolized in the distance running community, in the collegiate world, in the professional world, that they could kind of feed off of and stuff like that. Whereas we had to kind of be more intrinsically motivated to do what we do because there's not a lot of that for us to look up to, if at all, honestly.
Something we were talking about yesterday is how I am continuing to do this and I want to be good at it because at nationals, whatever, when I got second in steeplechase, I looked and thinking back, I'm I have not seen a Black steeplechaser besides you and Opsa since then.
Shout out Opsa.
Oh, that's the homie. But that's a lot to carry, and I really want young women especially to look and be oh wow, there is somebody that looks like me. That is something that I can do, because yeah, if you look at the starting line, I was the only person of color, and I'm sure it's been probably very similar for you.
For the most part. Yeah. I just started last year, so name a woman who is a Black steeplechaser who's not Aisha Pratt, who's in the U.S. Exactly, you can't. I was gonna say Aisha.
Yeah. But I don't know. That's just something that we thought is that we just want to be successful so that young girls and young Black girls can be oh wow, it is possible, because that's something we never really had.
There's also this tinge of I want to be somebody for somebody.
Yeah.
In a sense.
For sure.
Because when I look at the starting line or look at just the group of when we're warming up at a cross country race or when we get on the start line at nationals or whatever, I want everybody, not just in running but everywhere, to kind of realize we're all people, and so I don't even want to have to really deal with that.
Part of the reason that keeps me going is the messages, the DMs you get from Instagram, hey, I look up to you, you inspire me,
yeah.
You're the reason why I joined cross country, and it's I didn't even realize that I could have that kind of impact, but if they can see what I'm doing and that helps them just keep going, then I need to do my part and put my best foot forward.
It's another thing where it's most of our teammates probably don't think in that way, what I'm doing specifically is gonna affect all these different people, but we have to think about that, where what we're doing specifically is going to affect on an individual level and then on a bigger scale the Black community and younger Black kids or athletes who want to do something.
Because again, you're the representative.
Exactly.
In a way.
And there's so few of us. I feel this topic of race has been pretty taboo, especially within the distance running community, because it's everybody knows that there's not a lot of Black people here. Here as in holding it down in the distance running, but I think that we just need to talk about it, and like you were saying, and just openly have those conversations with your team, and just be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's constantly how we live, is just somehow being comfortable with constantly being uncomfortable and isolated, and just having those conversations and asking are you good? Is there anything I can do for you? How are you feeling? And just creating some sort of open, healthy dialogue within the teams, within the whole distance running community, within your athletic departments.
A good portion of distance runners are pretty open to ideas from other people and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. When you said that you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable with that, the first sport that comes to my mind, I don't know about you guys, the first sport that comes to my mind when you say get comfortable being uncomfortable
long distance
cross country. So like,
Yeah.
it's just as simple as like starting to talk to people, really. And I think a lot of what people have gotten wrong is that it's like us versus everybody else.
Yeah.
When it's not that, it's people versus people that don't treat people like people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody wants to be treated like a person at the end of the day, whether you run or not. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I've tried to convey to people, that it's not me versus white people or me versus any demographic or any ideology like that. It's more so people believing in treating other people the way that people should be treated. Within the Black distance running community, it's the same kind of in the example of when you walk into a classroom. When you go to a meet and you see another
for sure
African American distance runner, you kind of notice each other, and the other person notices you as well. And I tried to describe that to one of my friends once. He was white, and he had no idea what I was talking about because everybody kind of looks like him.
Yeah.
And so that's not a diss. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
I've met like a lot of people just from being at a meet and like you like pass by each other and you're with like your whole white team and you're the only person and you both like make eye contact and you're like, it's just like a weird connection thing that happens. Yeah. And like, it's really funny because I have a lot of good friends that I've just met that way.
It's always like refreshing / good to see somebody else that looks like you in a situation like that, in a high pressure situation like a race, obviously.
Yeah.
It's kind of a comfort to see that, you know, somebody else is experiencing the same thing as you, not just with the race, obviously, but with their race, literally.
Yeah. Obviously, the Black Lives Matter movement and the recent protests that have been going on is one of the biggest things that has happened in our generation, at least, or the age that we're at, like that we're living through kind of, and
the second civil rights movement.
Yeah, and I have felt, at least for me, extremely isolated. There's, I think like at least 45 individuals, including coaches and staff, and on the cross country team, including men's and women's, and I'm the only existing Black body, and to not have, I only had like 3 people on the team like reach out and be like, hey, are you okay? Or just like check in, and to not feel more supported or just like safe here was kind of uncomfortable, and just another reason where I was like, oh wow, like yes, I am extremely different from like my team and I'm extremely separated from them just on a subconscious level. And I think that kind of goes back to like how like Black Lives Matter was a trend for a minute and like people post like a black square and whatever, but like this is something that we're constantly like living through. And so just to like see that and just people kind of acting on Instagram and not supporting on like a personal level, I don't know, was just a little bit unnerving for me.
The whole Black Lives Matter thing is not a trend, and I really like how my teammates at Texas were really like open to being able to be educated. And so probably a week into this like going down, we all had a big Zoom call, like all the girls cross country, and they really like talked about like what they can do to be an ally. And I just thought that was like just really huge that like they even took the time out of their day to like have these tough conversations, because I know like me and Maddie are talking about it and like she didn't have that experience. And like I just thought like since this is like such a huge moment, a huge movement going on, that like what I experience and like what my team is doing would be like reflective of like what all other teams are doing, but like that's not the case. And so I just think that to keep like this whole movement going and not have it be a trend is to just keep having those like tough conversations and to just educate people and make others realize that like this is like what we have to go through every day.
For sure.
Yeah, maybe not just like because of I was at Texas, but just like personally, like I grew up, you know, in a predominantly white area and stuff, and I've always like been around white people. So like if I'm around Black people, sometimes they're like, "Are you even Black?" Like,
yeah, no,
like,
got
you get like your Black card removed?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, wait, what? Or like
It's not
I've heard
like
like
that,
I'm an Oreo, and I'm just like, okay.
I've gotten Oreos so much.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It's just like it sucks that it's something like we have to like kind of like live with or like, deal with, but
especially distance running too.
What do you? It kind of like it seems like Black people kind of hold it against you as well, because you don't play like basketball or like football or something like that. Like we run like
For me, it's
That's
always
it.
like,
But, like, everybody knows.
You're an athlete. I can tell. You play volleyball? No. Basketball? No. You're on track? Yeah. Oh, so you do hurdles? No.
Kind of.
No.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Me and Maddie were talking about this yesterday, and sometimes I just feel like I'm being tokenized, and I don't know if it's just like because of my abilities or if it's just because like I'm a black person and like they're using me like for like diversity. Like for example, I just previously came from Texas, and so I was used a lot for like social media and things. And,
She's like the face of Texas distance running.
Sometimes I really wondered, like, is it because of like how I'm doing, or is it just because like they need to like promote like diversity, like, hey, like this is what our team looks like, and so
like, is it genuine?
Yeah, is it genuine?
The question.
Yeah, exactly. Really, like literally, they put like this big poster in front of like the Hall of Fame, and like my face is on it, and I'm like, dude, there are like some greats that have come before me, so I'm like, why me? And like, why?
I get what you're saying.
So I don't know. It's just.
Well, this is one thing that I experienced, at least because I lived in literally the Deep South for 4 years. Like, whenever we wouldn't have organized practice and stuff like that, and we had the option to like run on our own and like meet up with some of our other teammates and just kind of run wherever we wanted for fun and stuff like that, sometimes the option would come up to run at like specific places that like they wanted to run at that were like not really great areas for me to run at. Specifically, there was one place that was probably 20-ish minutes out, like outside of any civilization, just like way deep in the woods kinda. And there's always like trucks driving by giving you kind of weird looks, and so I kind of knew not to run by myself out there versus like some of my teammates I'm sure probably like never had to have that thought. And unfortunately there's been situations like I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but a lot of people have seen that video of the guy that was just running around a neighborhood and they killed him. And so a lot of my teammates I'm sure have never had to like think that way.
Yes, we are going through a very difficult time right now, but I hope that this will kind of, and this video too, will kind of ignite some ideas in people's heads that they maybe didn't think about before, and kind of get the dialogue going, how we talked about before.
But like as you said, Steven, just like about treating people as people and just having these conversations and just being able to see things a different way. Because I think that's all this is all about. Just like when you have these conversations, you see something like, wow, I never saw it like that.
Or I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So.
Just a different perspective in a way. Yeah.
Definitely.
I know for me, I always want people to be straightforward and honest with me. I don't like to sugarcoat things. And so if people want to have that conversation, I'm always open to have that conversation. Running related, race related, all of it. I love to talk to people. Like I said, I'm more of a people person. Yeah, please, if you've got any
just reach out.
Yeah, seriously.
Whether it's questions, whether it's support, or you just like need advice, like we're just chilling.
We're chilling.
We're just chilling.
As best as I can. I'm not a coach though, but I will try to help you.